All right, welcome to the show, episode 22 here with the Ninja Wealth Exchange. So, the show here where we talk about wealth and how to grow wealth. How's it going, Johnny?
It's good, man. How you doing?
Good.
Sweet.
We were off last week, right?
Yep.
So I went down to Utah for a real estate conference, doing some learning. It was really nice. So, what'd you do on the week off?
Worked. I still have my flip that I'm putting together. We're trying to stage it now. And then I'm working on a new project, which I think I kind of mentioned it on social media about an assisted living facility. So this is a much bigger project, and so we're kind of it's taking a lot of work. Let's just say it like that.
Okay. Wow. Sounds good, man. We'll definitely have to talk about that one next time when we have a chance.
Yeah.
But
sure.
yeah, I mean, the world's been kind of crazy, right? So today's episode is going to be a real estate investor outlook for 2026. And, it's a lot of things going on, right? So, of course, when this usually happens, people question, hey, is this still a good time to buy? Right? Is this still a good time to invest? Gas prices and rates are going up, right? And so, of course, what we're here to do today is to help clarify things and help answer some questions, right? Do the good deals still exist, right? Where can you find them? And what strategies are real estate investors using right now to win, right? So let's get into this. So let's start off with the first question, right? Is this still a good time to buy? Which, a lot of normal people probably going to be like, hey, I'm going to sit on the sideline. I'm going to wait this out, see what happens, right? And we've seen this before, most recently with COVID, right? When everyone thought maybe it's the end of the world. Is it still a good time to buy? There were people still buying, right? And looking back, of course, hindsight is 2020. A lot of people wish they would have bought, right?
Absolutely.
So
I wish I would have bought.
Yeah, definitely. I bought a little bit later after that stuff happened, but I did still get a 3% rate, so on a refi, so that's still good.
Nice.
But there's definitely a lot of uncertainty right now, right? Especially with the global tensions, the potential energy crisis, right? The inflation concerns are coming back. And then, of course, we always see in the headlines as well, the job numbers, right? And I don't know where you're at, but locally and nationally, I mean, there's like news of layoffs, right? That I've been seeing. You've been seeing the same thing?
Yeah. So I think we're definitely seeing layoffs, right? I got friends from every direction saying, I haven't found a job in the last like 2 months, 3 months. I've had friends that just recently got laid off, and in fact, my wife just recently got laid off.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
yeah, it's pretty interesting to see the direction. Now that I think is partly to do with some of the uncertainties, and then I think it also has things to do with AI, right? I was talking to one of the guys I know yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, right now at my job." So he's in a call center, right? And he's like, at my job, I barely get calls anymore. What happens is they call in, and the AI actually does all of the first initial works, and if it doesn't resolve the issues, and then it escalates up to me. And so the amount of work I'm doing is significantly less, and so therefore I'm not even sure how long my position is going to last, knowing that they're going to be reducing probably the number of people needed because AI is advancing. So there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, it's crazy. I just got a new phone too, and it has that AI feature where it'll screen any call I want, and the AI lady will come on and like, hey, state your name and the purpose of your call, and I'll see if the person you're calling is available.
That's awesome. I actually called someone, and that's exactly what happened to me today. I was like, okay, this is different. I'm a
Yeah.
listing agent and, calling you about the showing today." So,
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild. And then
yeah.
I can see the text transcribe live, real time, as they're
Oh,
speaking,
nice.
right? And so if it is a real legit call, I could pick up right away, or I could just
Yeah.
the AI assistant just like, yeah, the person you're calling is not available right now.
Nice.
Try again later,
Oh,
or leave
interesting.
a voicemail. Yeah. Um, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. However, of course, like I said, right, with the recent history, COVID, even as far back as the real estate crash, right? Um, we've witnessed it before, right? We've kind of seen a similar movie, similar plot, right? And kind of like the theme is that when things are uncertain, there's always a opportunity as well in the chaos, right? So never let a good crisis go to waste, right? Always look for the opportunity, right? That might be there.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it is key to jump in and look at the opportunities. But the thing is that don't be reckless, right? Don't just jump in without knowing exactly what you're supposed to do and how the numbers are going to look. Make sure you're a little bit conservative about the things that you do. But the
Mhm.
biggest thing is don't be frozen. Don't wait. Don't wait it out because the if you're waiting, you're going to miss out on these specific opportunities that are going to show up.
Yep, yep. So that's great. Yeah, you have to prepare. You have to be ready, right? You have to know what to do, right? And
Mhm.
it's always kind of funny, like looking back and talking to people and all investors, regular people. They're like, "Wow, I wish I would have bought in 2008. I wish I would have done that." But quite honestly, they weren't ready, right? Even
Mhm.
COVID,
Mhm.
they weren't ready, right? They didn't know how to position
Yeah.
themselves, right? And
Yeah.
so that's the biggest thing. You just got to prepare, right? And be ready
Yep.
whichever way it goes, right?
Yep.
So now let's get into rates, right? Rates are just going up just like gas. So can you give us a little
Yep.
bit of breakdown on that?
Yeah, so in on March 17th, right? That's when the 17th, 18th, the Feds met, and they said because of so much uncertainty, they don't exactly know what to do with the rates right now. So they just held it, right? So um that wasn't quite the answer that we were looking for. What we were looking for was, hey, we think that, maybe in the second quarter, third quarter, we're gonna have another rate drop. But that is not what they said. In fact, today you're starting to see headlines that says we might have to increase rates, right? We might have to actually increase rates because right now, with the direction that the economy is going, if we lower rates anymore, it could cause issues with the economy. And so they're thinking about increasing rates, which then puts everybody in kind of a bind, right? Should you have bought in the last like 3 months, right? And I'm thinking, you never know, right? You never know exactly what the deal is. And I know that the next meeting is in April, and so we're going to continue to watch it, monitor it. The In the last 2 weeks, rates have increased, right?
Mhm.
It went down, it bottomed out about 2 weeks ago, and then now it's going right back up.
Yeah.
And I know that there were and non like everybody's credit score is going to be different, everybody's scenario is going to be different, but I had a client that came in, and when they started looking, their rate was like at 5.99, and right now their rate's closer to like 6.5. And so
Mhm. Mhm.
um it everybody's going to be different. However, my thoughts are is that you gotta I'd say if you had a pre-approval, give your loan officer a call. Go back over the rates, go back over the numbers because
Mhm.
rates seem to be increasing. Now, could that change in April? Absolutely. But could it actually be worse? Yeah, absolutely. So we don't have a crystal ball, but I think
Yeah.
that, because of the war, because of the energy crisis, because of the inflation and so on, these are concerns that
Mm.
the federal chair has. In addition to that, we have the I think Jerome Powell, right? He leaves the position at the end of May, and so we're gonna bring in a new federal chair or Federal Reserve chair, and when that person comes in, we don't know what direction he wants to move the economy. And so there's a lot of uncertainties, right? There's definitely a lot of uncertainties, but we'll see what happens. I think
Yeah.
the biggest thing is that uncertainties are not, there's opportunities out there.
Yeah. So I mean, you said you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think rates are going to be at the end of 2026?
At the end of 2026, I think they're gonna probably stay exactly where they're at. I think that by the end of 2026, we're gonna kind of be around the 5.99 to 6.5, right?
Okay.
For first-time
Yeah.
home buyers. If you're talking about investors, you're looking at a much higher rate, and it's probably gonna
Mhm.
be in the sevens, right?
Right. Right.
Um,
Okay.
so sevens, eights. Yeah.
No. Yeah. That's a fair estimate, fair prediction, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's kind of wild. I think my my AE from UWM was saying that they had locked in somebody for refi in the fours, right? With the arms, with a arm loan.
Mhm.
That's wild. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Hmm.
Yeah,
So,
that is crazy.
but of course, that's changing now. So,
Mhm.
let's continue on then. What about for investors? Speaking, right? Like, obviously, one of the first most important step is to figure out how you're going to fund a deal, right? So, what
Mhm.
are the options that investors should be looking at in 2026 here?
So I think if you're talking about like financing options, right? We still continue to have your cash, right? Cash is king. If you got the cash, jump in, use your money. We all know that money depreciates over time, right? So
Mm.
due to inflation. So you might as well use your funds, jump in and get that thing that can make you the money. Now, when you're using cash, just be careful because if you don't know what you're doing, you could lose all of it, right? So
Mm.
I think that's the biggest risk with cash. Now, there's always conventional, right? You got your conventional loan where if you're going to buy a rental, you whether it be a single family all the way up to 4 unit complex, right, or fourplex is what we call it here. You can use conventional financing. And so with conventional financing, you might need somewhere between, 15% all the way to 25%, depending on your specific scenario. I'd say reach out to your loan officers and, get that put together. You can continue to get financing from DSCRs, right? We're still seeing DSCRs for even 4 units with 20% down, right? So
Mhm.
as long as you meet the 1-to-1 ratio, some DSCRs have increased their ratio to 1.25. So
Mm.
just know who you're working with, know the changes that are taking place. They're not taking as much risk as they were back in the COVID days, but they're still doing DSCR loans. And then
Okay.
finally, if you're doing flips or you're trying to get things to move a lot faster, then I think it's going to be like hard money or private loans, right? So go finding a private lender, someone willing to give you the money. Hard money is it's expensive, right? So I just quoted someone on hard money, and we're charging like 3 points right now, whereas like I think a few months back we were charging 2 points, and so
Mm.
now we're charging 3 points for upfront for the rate, unless you want like a 15% rate. I think our rate was somewhere below 12%. And so if you want a higher rate, of course, there'd be less points. But if you want the lower rates, that's what you're going to do. And it's interest only for 12 months, right? So for hard money. And then of course there's, you gotta like, because it's 12%, that's a high interest rate. It's not for the faint of heart. So if you're going to go into it, make sure you have your projections, you know exactly what you're doing, and then you go from there. Now, there's one option that is super high risk, and I don't recommend this unless you are an investor who knows exactly how to exit and have multiple exit strategies. That is using your credit card, right? You can go out there, you can find credit cards, and then you can utilize that as well. Now, for the newbie investors, right? For the newbie investors, if you don't have cash, right, and you own a home, you could leverage a home equity loan. You can leverage a cash out refinance, or you could leverage your 401k or any kind of retirement plan that you might have where they allow you to pull the money. Just I think for those, just understand that there's a payment involved, right? So for
Mhm.
cash out refinance, usually when you refinance and you take the cash out, hopefully the rate's not too different from what your current rate is, and the payment doesn't increase by too significant of an amount. However, for the HELOC and the or the retirement accounts, those have like your separate payment, right? And those payments sometimes they amortize at 30 years out, sometimes it's interest only, but sometimes, right, you're paying principal and interest, and it's a shorter term that they allow you to do it. So, like, say, for example, a 401k, they might only allow you to do a 5-year loan. And if that's the case, that monthly payment is going to be high. Make sure you cash flow, right? So, understand what you're getting yourself into, look at the numbers, talk to your loan officer, talk to your financial advisors as well, your CPAs, to make sure that, you're going to be able to cash flow on the property after you use those funds. Now, the hopes is, of course, you gain it all back and then you pay off the loan and then you duplicate it, right?
Right, right. So, I mean, right now with the rates creeping back up, and maybe like, financing tightening up, it might be a good time to try and get that cash out soon, right? Before
Yeah,
the
before
rates really
rates really go up.
yeah, before they go really high. I mean,
Yeah.
we were just kind of like at that point where we're like, oh man, is that refi boom coming? And then now all of a sudden it's like, nope, it's going the other way.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but some very important updates here. If you are an investor, a buyer who uses cash, just as of March here, there's been some major changes on reporting if you use cash or even if you use like similar like cash, like hard money, right? Depends on your title company. The title companies I've seen that I work with, they've all been saying that they need to report LLCs, like who owns the LLC, because of these new FinCEN
Mm,
rules. So if you're not familiar with FinCEN, it's the government's financial crimes enforcement network, and it's the purpose is to uh, find fraud, right? Laundering money, things like that. Um, so this new rule is that if you're an investor or a buyer and you buy a property cash, and this is only for residential properties, so commercial properties does not apply. Um, Single family up to 4 units, and if you are closing in an LLC, because obviously if you're going to buy cash in your personal name, then they know who you are already, right?
mhm, mhm.
So they've already got your info. But what they're looking for here is now they're going to require both the buyer and the seller, right? If they're both in LLCs, disclose who is the owner, um, IDs, address information, all that stuff, right? So now you can't really get anonymity. You can't be anonymous anymore, right? Um,
Right.
when you're trying to hide behind an LLC, because the government wants to know now, hey, who owns that LLC? And they're going to source where those funds came from. So be very aware of these new changes. What that ultimately means for you is that a deal could take longer to close now because there's more paperwork involved. The title company has to go chase this information from both the seller side and the buyer side. And this is not an optional thing. It's going to be mandatory, required, right? So you can't get out of it.
Mhm.
If you're not willing to do it, then title's going to be like, well, we can't close, right? Because they don't want to get in trouble, right? And of course, there's going to be more closing costs too, because obviously title's not going to be doing all this extra work for free, right? So, um, there are some interesting developments that just happened, like literally a couple days ago. A uh, a federal judge from Texas just said this was unconstitutional. So he is trying to hold this up, right? He's trying to block it right now. Um, so it might be on hold, but at the same time, it's not eliminated. So um, the title companies are probably still going to cover their butts and still going to require all information just in case things proceed. So definitely be aware of that stuff. And then moving on, what about creative financing, Johnny? I know you're part of Pace Morby's Gator Group, right? You guys do a lot of creative strategies, a lot of what is it called? Subject twos, seller finance, things like that. What is that looking like in today's market? You still seeing a lot of that?
Actually, we're starting to see more of it. We're starting to see more of it because you need well, so like there are specific properties. Like if you're not in a presentable state when you're listing your property, right?
Mhm.
What we're seeing is that those properties where they look like someone's actually living in there, they're lasting a little bit longer. They're not quite showroom ready, right? And so they're staying on the market a little bit longer. And when that happens, then of course, sometimes sellers get a little bit more motivation to use different tools, different creative financing, and you're going to see things like seller financing. We're starting to see it. Even one of my clients have reached out to me and is like, "Hey, can we do the seller financing? If they can come in with like 50%, maybe we can do that." But the thing is that we do have programs where we have people that are willing to buy it and then do what is it called, a contract for deed for you after the closing, right? So they'll buy it and they'll contract for deed it back to you, but just understand that the interest rates are going to be a little bit higher on that. But seller financing, what we're seeing is that if they lost their job, for example, right, we're talking about some unemployment stuff increasing. If they lost their job and they don't know what they're going to do, right, what they can do is they can sell it to you, deed it over to you, and then they become the mortgage holder on the specific property. And so when that happens, it's seller finance or subject to, right? And you just take over the monthly payment and then you find a creative way to make money off of it, right? I believe in Florida, it's happening more than anywhere else because a lot of the Florida houses aren't selling as fast, and so you have people jumping in saying, "Hey, can we do seller finance on your property? If we can, we'd like to join in," and then jump in, purchase it from you, and then turn it into Airbnb where they make twice the amount or maybe even 10 times the amount of the mortgage. And then they get that lower rate. Plus, they get the ability to not have their credit check and like so much other documentation that would be required when you're doing a traditional loan. Now, um, seller finance is a little bit more complicated. You really have to understand what you're getting yourself into before you jump in and do those things. You have to read through the contracts. I probably recommend that you get attorneys involved. Same with subject twos, right? Subject twos, there's liabilities, whether it be for people who are professionals in the industry or not. There are liabilities. Sometimes when you're late on the subject to, the previous owner can just come back and take it. So it depends on
Mm.
how the contract is written, right? And then finally, right, we have the buy downs and arms and stuff like that. And so if you can do a if the seller's willing to give credit towards buying the rate down, maybe you can have a 4% rate down or 4.5% rate to like for a year, and then a 5.5% for the second year, and then the third year it goes to the actual full amount. But hopefully by that third year the rates have come down and then you could just refinance out of it. So there's there's a bunch of different strategies. There's the contract for deed, where some people are willing to just deed it over and then be the bank, assuming they own it free and clear, right?
Mm. Mm.
So bunch of different styles of creative financing, but you have to really look into it. You have to really research it and understand it. I don't recommend people just jumping in and doing it. If you're an investor, you probably want to look pretty deep into it because there's opportunities there.
Definitely. Yeah. We should probably put that on the list of future shows to have somebody expert in here for subject twos and
Mhm.
contract deeds and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
yeah, all right. So moving on, now that we got the financing out of the way, right? The money situation kind of figured out. Are the good deals still out there? That's the question, right? That's the question that we always get from investors. Common complaint from some existing investors that I work with, when I ask them, hey, what's your goals for this year? I'm like, man, there's no deals. I don't see anything. So what's your response to that?
I I think, there's still deals out there, right? I
Mhm.
think things have changed, things have evolved, right? And that allows us to, or it requires us to do a little bit more research, a little bit more work, right? A little bit more looking and finding, and things are less obvious now, right? So because it requires more effort, you're going to see different investors jump out of the game. right? And so that means that there are going to be deals out there, that because people are jumping on the game, they're scared, they don't know what to do, they're pausing everything. We can jump right in and be like, hey, if we can hold that for 5 years, for sure the real estate market's going to come back. I mean, in 2008, 2009, that's what happened, right? Yeah, if
Mhm.
you bought back in those days, you held it for 5 years, you're almost doubling your money. So,
Yep.
um, could that be a possibility? Yeah, sure. I don't think that that's going to actually happen, right? You're not going to probably not going to double your money, but um it's the art of the deal, right? So you jump in, you
Mhm.
take a look at the deal, find out, is there an opportunity here? Is it an opportunity that you can handle, right? Do you have the wherewithal, the cash flow, the reserves to be able to hold on to it until you make your money back? If you do, it's time to jump in.
Right, right. So if you're one of those investors out there that's willing to do the work and really sift through the deals, where should investors be looking, Johnny?
I think they should be looking everywhere. First of all, start networking, right? Uh, Go to some local meetups. Go to your RIAs, right? Here in Minnesota, we have MinRIA in the Minneapolis area. You can join, and the first meeting is free, but the meetings after that, you got to get a membership, and then you got to allow, of course, you got to help the people that are helping you, right? To network. Go out
Mm.
there, you network with different people, they have different deals, and not everybody can not everybody can take every deal, right? And so, like, I 100%, I can't take like 100 deals right away, right? And so if there's 100 people there, hopefully they each have one deal, and there's no way I'm going to be able to take all of them. So if there's a deal that fits you, you might be able to jump in and do that. um so go to your local meetups, join some online groups, dude. There's so many groups on Facebook, Instagram, um even on TikTok. You see people doing different things. You can go online, you can join some like Discord groups, to some like they have like watch the Reddits to see who's doing what. There's also like the what is it called, school, right? When you go into the school network, they have a bunch of different people doing specifically investment, and in fact, I'm in two of them, right? Where they're talking about deals all the time. And so and not only that, talk to your wholesalers, right? um in every city there's always some wholesalers out there, and sometimes they're a little harder to find, but you find them at the local meetups, right? So you'll find someone that says, oh yeah, I'm a wholesaler, so I'm always looking for deals that are off the market. And then once you build relationships with them, you're like, hey, so what deals do you have? They'll be like, I'll send it to you. And in fact, I get an email every month with properties that are off market and undervalue, because they need either rehab, repair, or you got someone that's hoarding inside of that house, and all the junk needs to be removed and no one wants to do it, right? So um, those are out there, of course. Reach out to your agents, right? In all the networks inside of the agent market. Uh, for us, like, I work with Laura's out in the Milwaukee area. We have properties out there. I work in the Minneapolis areas. We have properties out here. There's a couple of guys in Texas that we work with. They have properties out there, and just depends on what it is that you want to get involved with. Do you want to do a flip yourself? Do you not want to do a flip and actually just be a part of the process and get a percentage back, right? Do you want to lend out your money? We have all those different opportunities. So when you're in, like, agents oftentimes get to see the property before everybody else gets to see it. We
Mhm.
reach out to the sellers and we know what's going on with the house. Like right now, I have a lady that is in Lake Elmo, and this is in a high-end neighborhood, right? She recently had some water damage in her house, and she's in a position where she wants to fix it to sell it, but she doesn't have the income to get the home equity loan to pay for it, right? And so we're thinking about, if we can put together some numbers that works, maybe we'll just take it as is, right?
Mm.
So
Right.
talk to your agents, right? So of course, I'm an agent, and so my clients, they reach out to me and say, hey, can you help out my mom, my dad, my
Mhm.
my cousin, my friend? and we have those resources. So um like we don't, I mean, the honest truth is we don't just open doors, right? Everybody thinks that we are a glorified like customer service rep that takes people to houses and opens doors, right? And that is not the case. Like we look at opportunities in and out. I have a specific client that was looking for a fourplex for a year based on the specific amounts and the specific rental and projections that they want. We haven't been able to find a property, but I've been looking, right? I've been searching for this for a long time. Of course, I think recently they decided to move a different direction, but like we're chasing after things that are like sometimes impossible. Like I have another client that we need land, right? We need
Mm,
5+ acres with a little bit of forest, so that we can build on it. And
mhm.
we haven't been able to come up on any properties that we might be able to do something like that. So reach
Yeah,
out to your agents. We have great insight. There are things that we know that you probably don't know. Ask us questions, right? Tell us what you want, and we can create opportunities. And then
right.
finally,
Well, before you
finally,
get to the final thing,
yeah, yeah,
I just want to add, that you mentioned, agents do more than just open doors, but
yeah.
not all agents are equal, right? Uh,
Mhm. That's true.
you know,
That's true.
don't go ask any regular agent because not all agents know about investing, right? And, and
Or
so
about loans or about
right, right. And so you have to interview and you have to pick the right one.
yeah.
But if you're able to connect with a great agent who has an investor mindset, who has a network of wholesalers, has a network of contractors, of
Mhm,
lenders, right? Local lenders, of the meetups, they're going to put you into all of that network locally, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
now you're just plugged in. You're
mhm.
ready to go, right? And you're not trying to piece everything together yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're going to save yourself so much time, and that's really the power of finding the right agent, right?
Mhm.
So that's all I just want to add.
Yep, yep. And then yeah, finally the last one is create your own deal, right? Go out there, send out mailers, do some cold call, go do some cold texts, right? Of course, watch out for the do not call list and the do not text list, but go out there and try to figure out if you can get something. The honest truth is that when you go out there and you actually look, you're really helping people, right? You're calling to help people, and they usually have some kind of a problem, right? I mean, there's going to be people that you're going to bother, right? And you'll be like, yeah, sorry, I did not mean to bother you, but we're just out here trying to help people, and if they're trying to get rid of their property, we're trying to figure out if it's something that will work, if we can find a win-win situation here. And so look through the lists. There's lists of neighbors, lists of communities that you can go into, get to know the mayor, right? And if you can create an opportunity for a win-win situation for both the seller and yourself, there's a ton of opportunity. Like for example, for my flip, right? They were going through a divorce and they were going through a really hard time, and no one was buying their property, right? It's been in the market for over the market period, and when I got there, I was like, yeah, I don't want this property, right? Even for a flip. And the realtor called me back and was like, hey, so like we haven't had one deal come through. What are your thoughts? And I was like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't offer you anything good. So the best I can do is this. And he was like, all right, we'll work with it, right? Because they really need it. They really needed the help. And of
Right.
course, it turned into an opportunity for both of us. Like they were
Mhm.
able to get out of it, and then I was able to get in and hopefully make some a little bit of cash out of it.
Nice, nice. So yeah, I mean, to summarize, there are deals out there right now, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
really, it comes down to you have to be focused, you have to know what you want, and then you have to start looking for them, right? And
Mm,
it's kind of like the law of attraction, if you've ever heard of it, right? The more you think of it, the more you start looking for what you're looking for. You start seeing more of them, right? Just like if you're trying to buy a car that's red, all of a sudden you start seeing, oh wait, everybody drives a red car, right?
yep.
It's not it's probably not actually reality, but it's just that that's what your brain is focused on. And so now you're
Mhm.
starting to be aware of seeing all the red cars all around you. They're always there, right? So,
Yeah.
yep. So now that you found the deal, right? When you're lucky enough to see the one, right? What strategies can investors implement right now to win, right?
Man, there's every deal has a different strategy, right? You have where you have long-term rentals,
Mhm.
you have short-term rentals, you have midterm rentals, you have working with insurance companies for housing purposes. Say someone's house went on fire. You have nurses that needs homes because they're studying in a different location and they need to be housed. You have flips, right, where you can turn around, put it back on the market, and sell it really fast because there are people in the neighborhood. Here's a big one, right? A lot of people are like, so I usually work in the market where we're selling properties at, $500,000 plus. However, right, that's usually when I help clients. However, when I do my business, I
Mhm.
stay in the bracket of where the majority of the people are. So in the Twin Cities here, we're looking at something about, 350 to $400,000, right? And so, you know, what what kind of strategies? I think that there's so many different strategies for winning. Um, do you have any thoughts around it?
I mean, as far as like the investment strategies, it really comes down to what the investor's comfortable with, right? Like you just mentioned, you're doing commercial deal right now, right? I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
for a while, commercial deals were dead, right? Like, didn't make sense. But
Hmm.
now it seems like, obviously, like their loans are being called due soon, right? Especially when
Hmm.
if they got the 4% rates 5, 7 years ago, right, during COVID. I mean, we're
Yep.
during 2020, we're coming up on 2026. A lot of those loans are being called due, right? So they have a balloon. They have to refinance, or they have to cash out. They have to sell and get out of the deal, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so now we might be seeing more commercial deals coming, but again, the rates are still kind of high, so the price has to be right for it still to make sense, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, make sure your numbers work, right? And put a cushion on it, right?
right.
And what I mean by that is that, like, so for people that don't know what a cushion means is, like, if you think you're gonna make 50,000, right? Put additional expenses on it, right? And when you put additional expenses and then, put a cushion on it, try to make, probably closer to 70,000, and then you might actually come in where the $50,000 is, right?
Mm,
So, because cost is increasing, right?
yep,
Drywall is increasing,
they were.
cost of windows are increasing. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you have to, build a cushion in so that you don't go in thinking you're gonna make 50,000 and only make like 25, right?
correct. Yep, yep. You have to be conservative. You have to have a contingency factor. So
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
Hmm. So all right. So you know, what so you work with a lot of investors. What kind of strategies are you guys using to win the offers?
So, if, if the deal is good, right, we jump in, we see a deal, and it's like too good to be true.
Mhm.
We jump in as fast as possible,
Okay.
right? But with contingencies, of
Mhm.
course. So we jump in, make sure that we can do our due diligence before everything goes completely under like, so we're going to have stipulations like we need to do inspections, right?
Mm.
So that we can come back and be like, hey, so when we came into this, we thought everything was good, but actually the furnace just went out, and that's going to be like a $10,000 cost. So we're going to need to work on that, or is about to go out, or whatever the case is, right?
Sure.
So jump in, be first. Or um, sometimes if you wait, right, and no one's making an offer, and you wait forever,
Yeah.
and there's a property that's been listed on the market for a year, right, and no one's looking at it, and you go in and there's a great opportunity, and you can get it for pennies on the dollars, right?
Right.
That's when you jump
Kind of
in.
like your
So
deal, right? Like you were just
yep,
explaining.
yep. Be first or be last, right? Because
Right.
if
Right.
you're in the middle, you get absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because if you jump in the middle, like let's say for example, I've made an offer on a deal, and you come in like 3 days later and you try to make an offer, the possibility is that they've already signed the agreement, even though it hasn't gone, like the system hasn't shown that it's
Mm.
actually in pending status or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
It could be gone already, right?
Right.
So, um, and then of course, speed wins, right? So if you're the first to make an offer, right, you're the first to get in front of them. Sellers do take that into consideration, right? Because you're actually the most serious one, right? Sometimes when you're the first one, I mean, unless someone comes in with like $100,000 earnest money, then like they're pretty serious, right? But but
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're first to make the offer and your offer is really good, right? It has to be really
Mhm.
good. Just
Yeah.
because you're first with a low ball offer doesn't do you much good.
Right, lowball doesn't work. Like in this current market, lowballing doesn't work. I don't care. Like, okay, so it only
Mm,
works on properties that's been out there forever. But
right.
if it's been less than 30 days,
Yeah.
lowballing is not the way to go. Not in the Twin Cities and
Mm.
probably not in Milwaukee either. Right. So
No, no. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, like you said, it only works if it's been sitting forever and the
Mhm.
seller's desperate, right? And there are some very stubborn sellers, whether they're investors, especially investors, because investor sellers, they're the type that think that they know that their property's worth more, or they feel like their property's worth more. When other investors like, heck no, that ain't worth that what you're asking for, right? Um,
Mhm.
so you never know when a seller's gonna crack, right? Right.
Mhm.
So what their situation gonna change. So throw an offer out and they might just take it, right? So
No. And if like so, another strategy is digging for diamonds, right? And what that means is that like only search the old listings, only
mhm,
search the properties that's been on the market for a while. And if you do that, like in just to what Laura said, right? You don't know if they just had an argument with another buyer and that buyer is like, no, there's no way your house is worth, let's say for example, it was listed for 300 and they're like, it's no way your house is worth 300. I want it for, 150, and then you come in at 200 because you see the value in it. They're going to
mhm.
be like, well, this guy's offering me 200, so we're just going to go ahead and move forward, right? Because we're
Yep.
tired of dealing with this, right?
Yeah, either that
So
or maybe their spouse is mad at them, like, "Hey,
mhm,
we gotta get out of here. You better hurry up."
yeah, yeah.
So,
Um, yeah, and then of course there's the wait out seller strategy, where you just let time crack them, right?
mhm, mhm,
You have sellers that are stubborn. You have sellers that are unwilling to make changes. You have sellers that they're like, this is my house. It's like I bought it brand new. It's a brand new house, right? And they bought it brand new like 20 years ago. And um, if it's been on the market for like 6 months or something like that, time will crack the sellers. And then the biggest boss move, right, is sight unseen offers, right? So um this is pretty much like for advanced investors. When you like, there's going to be places like auction.com or zome.com, right, where you can go on there and you can look at properties, right? There's properties in Panama City Beach, right, that hasn't sold and has been on the auction list for like years.
mm,
And you can go on there and you can take a look and they have like a bidding number. And you don't, if you know how to analyze the market, right, you go in there, you analyze it, and you think that's something that you can turn around and make a profit. You can purchase it sight unseen, right? There's a
yep,
possibility you might have to knock the building down, but it is for the advance, right? So, and the
yeah.
reason why I say that is because I actually went through this, right? I bought a house sight unseen,
Oh, yeah.
and when like Laura, I've talked to you about it, I probably mentioned it a couple
Was
of
the
times on
Michigan one?
different, yeah, yeah, on different episodes. I got to the house
Yeah.
and there was standing water in the basement, right?
Oh,
About 3 inches of standing water. And I was like, hmm, um, yeah, that's gonna be expensive to fix, right? So
no, so,
I broke I broke even on it, but
so yeah, what I mean, it is for the more confident investors, right?
Mhm,
The ones who know their stuff, right, would probably be more likely to do this, right?
mhm,
Um, and I just had a recent investor who did this strategy and he won, right? It was a
nice.
house that was on the market and it just listed, but there was a bunch of pictures. And the house looked great from the pictures. The price was
Mhm,
like pretty pretty attractive. The price was pretty low, especially for the
right,
condition it looked in, right?
mhm,
And the investor was familiar with the neighborhood. He was, his numbers were good, and the photos look all pretty good, just mostly cosmetics that need to be improved. Um, but it had an updated kitchen already, it had an updated bathroom already, just simple stuff like floors and paint. And so he's like, "Hey, Laura,
Nice.
let's what if we do a sight unseen offer?" Right? Because the listing agent, we were trying to get in the showing, and I told him, "Hey, showings aren't going to be allowed until 5 p.m. when the sellers get, I don't know, get out of work or whatever."
Mhm.
And so he was like, "Hey, let's just throw a sight unseen offer and see what they say." I was like, "Well, hold on here. I mean, not every single agent and seller likes to take that kind of offer because it can be risky.
Mhm.
Depends on what you write, right?" And
Mhm.
so I was like, "All right, hold on. Let me call the agent up, see how they feel about it. Would they be accepting and open to that, right?" And they were like, "Yeah, just write it up and we'll take a look." And so he wrote it up, right? And I think we did list price, and um, they were like, "Well, we have a bunch of showings scheduled for today and tomorrow. I don't know, but if you up your offer by 5,000, we'll take it." And so he's like, I told him that, and he's like, "All right, there's still good enough spread. It works for me."
Nice.
And so we did that, and then right after they accepted everything, basically all he did was a walkthrough, um, and everything checked out great. I mean, there was really no major stuff wrong with the house.
Nice.
So he got a phenomenal deal on that one, and before anybody could even walk through the door. So
That's awesome. That
yeah,
yeah, that's super awesome. That's definitely boss move, right? Definitely
yeah,
boss move.
yeah.
But yeah, not for the faint of heart.
No, no, definitely not. So no. All
So
right. So wrapping up here. Um, what's the final verdict? Should when people ask, should they invest right now? Is now a good time, or should they wait? What do you say?
I think now is always a good time, right? But invest with strategy, right? So make sure you have a strategy, make sure you know your numbers, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into.
Hmm.
And if you don't, right, work with someone that does. And
Yep.
then if you're not prepared, right, and you just don't know, and you're just not sure,
Hmm.
um, I have two advice, right? I probably would say if you're unsure, don't go in. If you're afraid of losing money, don't go in. However, if you have some cash, right, and you're a risky person like I am, right, and you're like, I need the experience, right? It's okay to jump in. It's okay to jump in. You might lose some money, but hey, what does a college degree cost, right? Like 40,000 in 4 like, that's like 10,000 a year. That's like on the low end, right?
I think it's gone up.
On yeah, like, yeah, on the high end, it's probably, like, over 120,000, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, right, if you just logic it out, um, if it costs you $10,000 to learn from this one specific property, and
Mhm.
then you're gonna turn around and go to another, even if it costs you 20, 30,000, right?
Yeah.
And you know how to do the next one, and you know how to make it profitable for the next one, um, sometimes it's worth it, right? It might take you, like 2, 3 years to be profitable again, but the experience speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
my thoughts are is that if you're an investor and you're looking to jump in, I say jump in and get your feet wet, but
Yeah.
you're gonna have to make that decision yourself. You have to be willing to take that loss, right?
Right. Right. And so it's basically a mindset thing. I've seen it happen before.
Mhm.
I mean, it's completely normal, right? It's all human. Paralysis analysis, right? You have the deal in front of you. Maybe you've already locked it up, and you're about to sign, and you're like, "Should I sign this closing document?" Right?
Mhm.
I've seen it
Yep.
happen, and I've had to consult, and I've had to pull some investors off the ledge, right? And tell them,
Mhm.
"Hey, is this what you really wanted to do?" Right? And said, "Hey, a couple years ago, you mentioned you saw a really good deal and you missed out on it. Well, is this that situation again?" Right? And after they
Mhm.
calmly think about it, they're like, "Hey, you're right. It is. This is what I've been dreaming for, right? And the
Yep.
opportunity's here. Let me just do it, right?"
Yep.
But if somebody is unsure, they're not prepared, right? But they are ready to go into school, the pay the tuition to learn, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can they get better prepared, Johnny?
Dude, that's cake, right? Just reach out to us. Just Reach out to Laura if you're in Milwaukee. Reach out to me if you're in Minneapolis. We got people and friends across the whole United States. If you just reach out and you get connected, we can help you out, even if it's not in our area. We could probably network with someone and find out how you can work through it. Being like, for example, I'm part of the PACE community, right? PACE Morby community, and we can find someone in there. Like, there's people from California that I've talked to, people from Washington that we've talked to. There's people from all over that you can network with and work with you. And the funny thing is that sometimes people are so, like, they're too afraid to ask the question, right?
Mhm.
And because you're afraid, because you're not willing to take that step forward, um, it might take you 10 years before you do it. And in fact, that was me, right? That was me when I first wanted to get into real estate investing. I was
Mhm.
like 21. I didn't know nothing about anything. I knew about mortgages, but and buying homes, but traditionally, right? I didn't know about any creative financing. And had I got connected back in those days, I would have done way more deals than I've done
Mhm.
today. So get connected, reach out to us, talk with us, consult with us. We're a part of a nationwide network. We can connect you to people in your area if that's where you want to do business. If you actually want to do business in our cities, connect with us. We're here to help you build your wealth through real estate investing. So
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's, yeah, that's the biggest thing. What
Yeah,
are your
no.
thoughts around it?
Yeah, I mean, those are great tips. I think you hit it right on. I mean, you have to be willing to ask for help, right? And
Yep.
um, don't don't be embarrassed that you don't know everything, right?
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
not everybody knows everything. It's a learning process, right? And when you come across a difficult situation, I mean, basically, there's only three options, right? You either advance, continue forward, go through it, or you retreat, you run away from it, or you
Mhm.
just stand still and you do nothing, right?
Yep, stay
And
stagnant.
right. And if you
Yep.
stay still and you do nothing, you're just gonna stay in that fear, right? That fear is gonna, you're gonna be stuck in the fear mode, right? Um, so if you really got to make the decision. It all starts with the decision to go forward, right? And so,
Mhm.
you know, when it starts with a mindset, right? So when you're ready, and you want to build that confidence, it definitely helps if you talk to other people, right? And
Mhm.
talk to the right people. Talk to a bunch of people. All right. Some people may not be
Yeah.
the right one for you. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to add, like, like, I don't say it very often,
Mhm.
but I do invite people on Facebook. We have an investor meeting every Thursday at 6 p.m.
Oh,
In Roseville, in the Twin Cities here. And so, if
mhm.
anybody's watching, anybody wants to come and join, everyone is free to join. Right, it doesn't cost any money, and we have investors, we have mortgage experts, we got wholesalers that all come, and we're all working together to find the next deal, to do the next deal together, to help each other find the next deal or close the next deal. And so, get connected, right? Totally get connected. And then I think to close out the show, because I think that covers everything, right, Laura?
Yeah.
Is there
No,
anything
very
else?
much.
Okay. Yeah, to close out the show, thanks for watching, of course. But before you go, like, subscribe, share the content, make sure everybody's aware of it, so those that actually wants to build wealth in real estate can reach out and have the connections that they need. And if you have a topic that you want us to cover, even if it's not our expertise, send it our way. If we can find someone in the expert field to jump on with us, to go over it with us, you know we will definitely do that, and that way you can get the information that you need to be able to make better decisions. So with that, we'll see you next time.
All right. Peace.